welcome tonight. Mayhem in the House of Representatives as members fight over nomination of principal officers. Senate President names principal officers in defiance of the position of the ruling All Progressives Congress. And our big story tonight examines the ongoing financial crisis facing some states in the country and the question of accountability in governance. And South Africa to review its membership of the International Criminal Court following the row over Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir's failed arrest.
And on business news tonight, Nigeria's business confidence index rises in spite of inflationary pressures and volatile crude oil market.
On sports news tonight, officials of badminton in Nigeria believe that the Lagos Classics will improve the sport in the country.
We begin tonight with the disruption of proceedings on the floor of the House of Representatives today after a rowdy session leading to the adjournment of the plenary till July the 21st. Matters came to a head when some lawmakers protested the call by the Speaker for an executive session for the nomination of principal officers. The protesting members then attempted to seize the mace, the chamber's symbol of authority, but were prevented by the state sergeants at arms and other members. Our correspondent, Plenary reports.
The Speaker arriving for the day's plenary session. His first action was to call for a closed-door meeting. The call sparked off this reaction. To the amazement of all, some lawmakers attempted to seize the mace. This led to a struggle between the lawmakers and chamber attendants. The whole chamber then became rowdy.
Absolutely unnecessary. I think members are agitating that the normal thing should be done. The party has written a letter as to its leadership, and it's been with the Speaker for about 3-4 days, and he has refused to read the letter, which is against tradition. Nobody here came here as an independent candidate. I didn't come here as an independent candidate, neither did the Speaker. So I think the right thing should be done. I'm not for this at all. But like I said, it's very unfortunate, but I'm sure it will be resolved.
It's very embarrassing, but we will resolve the issues. We have a very embarrassing situation from the reactions of members of the APC when the Speaker decided that we should go into executive session. But that is not the subject matter for now. My position as a principal officer, or rather as a leader in this house, is to make sure that we calm down nerves and be able to, disagree to agree.
Some of the lawmakers discussed in groups in an attempt to help resolve the crisis. Eventually, calm returned, with the Speaker describing what happened as unfortunate.
As to the issues that led to the chaos today, we will sit down as leaders across whatever divide we have to ensure that these matters are as quickly as possible resolved. And that is what we will do. By virtue of Order 10, Rule 10, and mutual consent, hereby adjourn this House to the 21st of July 2015. The House stands adjourned.
As the lawmakers walk out of these chambers, Nigerians will be hoping that by the time they return in almost 1 month's time to resume legislative activities, they would have resolved some of the contentious issues that led to some of what we observed here. And hopefully by then, they will be ready to attend to the needs of Nigerians as the House of Representatives. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
Well, it may not have been so dramatic at the Senate, but the President of the Upper Legislative House, Bukola Saraki, has defied the APC's directive on the choice of principal officers. At today's plenary, the Senate President announced the names of 3 candidates for the Senate leadership positions, different from the names submitted by the party. Correspondent Linda Higbe reports.
Okay, you rise. Yes, I wish them...
Days of infighting, horse trading, nocturnal meetings eventually culminated in this. The Senate President finally announced the names of the senators to take up the remaining leadership positions in the Senate.
Northwest APC caucus to me nominating for the position of Deputy Majority Leader or Senator Balana Ala in line with these standing rules. Announcement. Received a letter from the APC Northeast Caucus nominating Senator Ali Ndume as the position of the Majority Leader in line with the standing rules. Nominating Senator Francis Ali Mekene as Deputy Whip. Senator Francis, the Sergeant of Arms, can take it.
But while it looked like an inevitable conclusion, a federal lawmaker challenged the decision of a Senate President to read the letters from the APC caucuses, stating the names of the senators to occupy the positions of the principal officers of the Senate.
Mr. President, there was a communication from the party, from our great party, the APC, to your good self, to your good office, Mr. President. And for reasons best known to you, Mr. President, you declined to read it yesterday on the floor of the Senate. And when your attention was drawn to that executive that communication from the party, this member said it cannot be read because it only said if from the party, not by the party. Now, this constitutional provision clearly puts the party ahead of any other caucus from anywhere. Therefore, if the communication from the party can so be disregarded, I submit that, Mr. President, you cannot read any communication from any caucus because there is no caucus that is bigger than the political party itself. I so submit, Mr. President.
But a lawmaker fired back at Senator Marfa.
The issue of leadership within this chamber is our own responsibility as senators. We have been sponsored by political parties to come to this Senate, but nobody says the chairman of the party should appoint the Senate President. The law clearly states that we senators elect the Senate President, elect Deputy Senate President, elect our leaders.
The Senate President then ruled on Senator Marfa's point of order.
This is to be out of order or attempt to reconsider a specific question upon which the Senate has come to a conclusion upon. As said, this matter has already been raised before, on which I ruled on. And also Order 25J, 25H actually, where it says on interpretation of rules that the prerogative of the Senate President. Distinguished colleagues, I think on those 2 issues, I haven't but to rule the Senator Marfa out of order on this issue. Thank you.
The APC on Tuesday sent 2 letters to the Senate President and Speaker of the House of Representatives, stating its position on the candidates for the seats of the outstanding principal officers. The party zoned the seat of the Majority Leader to the Northeast, Deputy Majority Leader to the North Central, Chief Whip to the Southwest, and Deputy Chief Whip to the Northwest.
Export-free zone.
The party also named its candidates to fill the positions. However, the APC zonal factions in the Senate, supported by the Senate President and in defiance of the party, held elections on Wednesday to determine who would occupy the positions of the 4 outstanding principal officers. The lawmakers adopted the zoning formula of the party, with the exception of a seat of a deputy chief whip, which was zoned to the northwest but changed to the south. The names of 3 out of the 4 principal officers in the Senate have been announced. But does this mean that the bickering over the leadership positions in the Senate has finally been resolved? And how would the party deal with the deliberate disregard of its directives? All these issues will be made clearer in the coming days. In the meantime, the Senate has adjourned legislative proceedings till July 21st, but the newly inaugurated ad hoc committees are expected to begin work. Linda Akibi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress APC has warned that it won't accept any other appointments of the National Assembly principal officers outside the ones sent to the leadership of the legislature. The National Secretary of the party, Alhaji Mai Malabuni, in a statement today says that the party will only stand by the list sent to the Senate President and the Speaker of the House. Alhaji Buni adds that the National Caucus, BOT and NEC of the party will meet within the next few days to discuss the evolving developments in the National Assembly with a view to preferring a permanent solution to the crisis. Meanwhile, some House of Representative members today engage in fisticuffs over the choice of principal officers, while the APC's wishes was thwarted on the floor of the Senate as totally different senators emerged as majority principal officers. The People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has blamed President Muhammadu Buhari for the fracas which occurred today at the floor of the lower chamber of the National Assembly. In a statement signed by its publicity secretary, Chief Olisa Metu, the PDP says that the act is a direct consequence of the president's lack of democratic credentials to control his party and make it respect the independence and sanctity of the legislative arm of government. The party claims that the disagreement and violent reactions is the subject of the script orchestrated and acted by some members of the APC. While the opposition party believes that the onus lies on the president to ensure that all democratic institutions are harnessed for effectiveness. The PDP also said, quote, "The continued confusion in the APC-led government is a confirmation of its earlier stand that the APC lacks the capacity and democratic discipline to effectively steer the ship of the nation and face the challenges of governance at the centre." End of quote. In part 2, after the break, President Muhammadu Buhari to embark on a state visit to the US next month. Stay with us.